Hi friends, welcome to Competent ND Spoken English and Vocabulary Program. Friends, we are also having Hindi to English program also. Please go through the links which we have given the description section where you can find the links related to English to Hindi version of this session. In this session, we are going to study about different personalities. Friends, this video is session number 1 and route number 1. We are going to follow two major authors' books. One is Norma Lewis and the other is Wilfred Funk. Initially, we'll follow Norma Lewis' Word Power Made Easy. This book is considered to be one of the best books for improving high standard vocabulary. The major portion of English vocabulary words can be learned from two important viewpoints. One is you can always look for improving reading skill so that you can have good collection of power verbs and visualize them. Another way is you can learn root words. Let's start with a simple root. The number one word for today's is ego. Ego means I or self. It's a Latin root word. The most important word from the root for today's session is egoist. Egoist believes in self-advancement. Egoist's first motto is me first. The first question egoist may ask in every task, what's in it for me? Look at this picture. He thinks before every action, what's in it for me? Why should I do this without gaining anything? What if you have an emergency situation arise in your real life? If you ask any help from an egoist, he will think, what benefit shall I get from this? Every decision this kind of people make on the basis of personal advantage. So if they don't find any appreciation from any activity, they're reluctant to do that. They never care about other people's feelings and don't bother to hurt while achieving the task. In short, an egoist is a selfish person, conceited, proudy, only thinks about self-advancement and every action depends on one question, what's in it for me? Egoist evaluates the pros and cons of all his actions and its weightage. The number two word for today is egotist. Egotist always talks about his accomplishments. He is really boastful. He always considers himself to be better or more important than others. In front of others, an egoist always tries to talk about his gains. The purpose of doing this, he expects he will get prominence among the audience. Look at this picture. He has purchased a new cloth. So he's showing in front of others. Look here. I have a new shirt. Is boasting. He doesn't think of the consequences. Egoist talks too much about oneself. In short, an egoist is a person who is interested in I and only talks about himself and his accomplishments or achievements and always tries to see to it that all decisions revolves around him. Let's discuss what's the importance of these two words are, egoist and egotist. Both of these words are very important in examination point of view. The question generally asks, egoist or egotist, which one is more cunning or what's the difference between these two? Egoist is more cunning as an egoist evaluates the pros and cons of all his actions and its weightage. Depend on this, he will decide what action should be taken. Though egotist is boastful, he may not be selfish and dangerous at all. The third word for today's session is egocentric. An egocentric person always considers himself the center of the universe. The word centric is from root centrum, which means center, the midpoint. Egocentric people thinks it's their world and we are all just living in it. An egocentric person exaggerates his or her opinion of oneself and disregards others' opinion. He thinks the entire world revolves around him. Look at this picture. An egocentric person always thinks, as a matter of fact, the world does revolve around me. In short, an egocentric person is intolerable, as all of his words starts from I and ends with I only. Egocentric is the synonym of egotist. Egotist is a little self-centered, and he boasts in front of his 4 or 5 friends for gaining importance. But egocentric boasts in front of the entire society. The fourth word for today's session is egomaniac. Egomaniac considers him the very important person and able to do anything that he or she wants to do. Egomaniacs might aspire to be famous even if they are not having enough skill. They still think they are the most important people. They have no regard to others. Look at this picture. He himself thinks that he is the king. He doesn't mind others. E- Egomania carry egoism extreme level, slightly mad and dangerous. So we are going to be closing up this session. This is session number 1, root number 1. Let me quickly summarize all these things. We started with the root ego, which means I. The first word which we discussed is egoist, which means selfish. Egoist thinks about self-advancement, and egoist evaluates the pros and cons of all his actions and its weightage, and always ask one question in mind: what's in it for me? Look at this picture. You can see, you can identify that the scale shows that an egoist always thinks about what's in it for me, what type of benefit I get from this particular action or particular help which I have to give to others, or I have to offer to others. Then we talk to our egotist, which means a person always talks about his accomplishments over and over again. After that, we did egocentric, which means a person always thinks the world revolved around him. He is the center of the universe, and all day he talks about himself and only intolerable to listeners. And towards the end, we did egomaniac, which means a person who is slightly mad and not having any regard to others. Look at this picture. You can see that the person who thinks he is the king and others are nothing. Egoists generally ignore others. All right, we are going to ending up this session. This is session number 1 with us. You have not learned 4 or 5 words, but you have learned all words which start with the root ego. Thank you very much. If you like this video, please subscribe and share. Thank you so much.